I got a question from my friend Jose, and he's asking me whether it's okay to use a heavy bag to warm up for weights. And short answer is yes, it's totally okay. But it's all about how you use the heavy bag. Now, you've just got to, when you're thinking about the warm up, you've got to think about what's your goal with the warm up. So your goal with the warm up, there's a few different things that you want to do. Number one, you want to get your body temperature up. Get yourself sweating a little bit, get yourself breathing a little bit, get that aerobic system, your heart, your lungs, get them working a little bit. So that's where the heavy bag comes into play. That's where you can go 5 minutes, whether it's a heavy bag, running on the treadmill, jogging on the spot, skipping, whatever you want to do. Any type of cardio exercise is great to get your heart rate up and to get you that little sweat going. But that's just the first component. That's the very first thing that I would do. Next up, we want to think about joint mobility. So do you have any joints that are particularly stuck or rigid? If that's the case, then you want to mobilize those joints. So in terms of fighters often have the T-spine is stuck and rigid and immobile. So you want to mobilize the T-spine. It could be the hips, the shoulders, whatever is stuck and rigid on you, that's what you want to mobilize. Next, go to muscle activation. And a combo of muscle activation and stretching, static stretching for the tonic muscles. So static stretching is something that people often say, oh, don't do any static stretching before a workout. You're going to get injured. It's going to decrease your power. And that's true to an extent. But static stretching, when done before a workout for tonic muscles and when followed up by activation and dynamic stuff, is perfectly fine. And it's actually beneficial. For example, shoulders, if I got rounded shoulders like this, my pecs are generally tight. I want to stretch those out so that I can get in good posture. Now, when I'm doing exercises, if I'm doing a workout, if my shoulders are like this and I've got to do an overhead press, it's going to ruin my shoulder. I'm going to get impinged. There's going to be banging around in that joint. It's just going to be nasty. So stretching out the chest statically with a static stretch, maybe on a Swiss ball or on the wall, is good because that's going to help you to get your posture back, shoulders back, so that when you do that overhead press, you're up nice and tall, the T-spine is extended, and you're not going to ruin your shoulder. Okay, so that's one example of a static stretch that is good before a workout. Now, for a bad example would be stretching out your hamstrings right before you go to do a 100-meter sprint or hard interval training on the treadmill or on a track. That is something that you don't want to do. That's what you want to avoid. But you'll avoid it if you follow my template here. Okay, so we've got static stretching and muscle activation for muscles that are sleepy. So oftentimes the glutes, sit on your ass all day. If you're at an office job or at a desk job, your glutes are often going to be sleepy. So some simple exercises to do to wake them up could be hip extensions just on the floor, one leg hip extensions, side bridges, one leg side bridges. Those help to activate the glutes. Those are just a few examples. There's tons that you could do. Okay, so let's recap. We got aerobic type exercise to get the heart rate up and to get the body temperature up, joint mobility, static stretching for the tonic muscles, muscle activation for the sleepy muscles, and then you get into your dynamic mobility stuff, general dynamic mobility stuff, loosen your body up, reverse lunge and reaches, stability squats, Hindu push-ups. Those are all some common things that I use depending on the workout. And then before you get into your weights, whatever it is you're doing, always do at least a few sets of that particular exercise. So if you're doing bench press, do your ramping warm up for your bench press. If you're doing deadlifts, same thing. As you get further down into the workout, say you're doing 5 or 6 exercises, your last exercise is, say, a bicep curl, then you don't necessarily have to warm that up too much because whatever you did previous to that, if there's any pushing or pulling involved, probably warm the biceps, the elbows, the shoulder up enough so that you're not going to hurt yourself doing the biceps curl. Okay, so that's my answer to the question, is it okay to use the heavy bag to warm up before weights? Yes, it is, if you use it right. Don't go into fatigue. Don't tire yourself out. If you tire out your arms and your shoulders, obviously you're doing a bench press or a chin up is not going to be as effective as if you just use the heavy bag light just to warm your body temperature up, get the core working, shoulders and arms warmed up and loosened up. All right, good luck with that.